Hey guys, this is Josh Stahl, Marketing Analysis of Malaysia, Thailand, India, and Vietnam for Marketing 485. Thailand is the center of mainland Southeast Asia, next to the Andaman Sea is to the west, Myanmar is also to the west, and Laos is to the east. Vietnam is the east coast of the peninsula with the South China Sea to the east, and Laos and Cambodia to the west. And Malaysia is at the southernmost tip of the Thailand, stretching into the Indian Ocean. India is the northwest part of this map and is the largest country in this group. Thailand has a population of about 69 billion people and about 135 people per square mile. Malaysia, 32 billion, about 98 people per square mile or square kilometer. Vietnam, 97 billion, about 293 people per square kilometer. And India has 1.3 billion people and about 432 people per square kilometer. It is certainly the most densely populated of this group. So when we look at Malaysia world trade, total exports is about $216 billion, or trillion dollars, excuse me, and total imports are about 193 trillion. They export about $20 billion worth of goods to the United States. They import about $16 billion worth, so that's a good deficit there. Top two exports, electrical machinery at $68 billion, oil and mineral fuels at $33 billion, and their top two imports are exactly the same, electrical machinery and oil and mineral fuels. India's world trade has a total exports of $294 billion, total imports of $444 billion, and they export about $46 billion worth to the United States. $24 billion worth from the United States is imported into India. Their top two exports are precious stones and metals and oil and mineral fuels, and their top two imports are oil and mineral fuels at number 1 and precious stones and metals at number 2. Thailand world trade, about $215 billion in exports, $160 billion in imports. They export about $28.2 billion to the United States, and they only import about $8 billion from the United States, so there's a large deficit there. Top two exports are office machinery parts and integrated circuits, and their top two imports are gold and vehicle parts. Presumably the gold is mostly used for the integrated circuits. Vietnam world trade, they total export of $220 billion, total imports $204 billion. They export about $46 billion to the United States, but they only import about $7 billion from the United States. It's the largest trade deficit in this region. Top two exports are broadcasting equipment and telephones. Top two imports are integrated circuits and telephones, which are mostly imported from Thailand. U.S.-Malaysian relations, they established diplomatic relations in 1957. They created a comprehensive partnership in 2014. They share partnerships in trade, investment, security, environmental and cooperation, and education. The United States provides educational assistance to many Malaysian people, and both countries are in the UN, ASEAN, IMF, WTO, and the World Bank. India-U.S. relations, we have very common values in rule of law and democratic principles. Both countries are members of the UN, G20, ASEAN, IMF, and the WTO. Indian students enrolled in U.S. schools add nearly $7 billion to the U.S. economy, so we have a long-standing educational background, and they have a great relationship with the United States for many, many years. Thailand-U.S. relations, they established relations in 1818 over the Treaty of Amity and Commerce in 1833. In May 2014, the elected government was usurped by a military coup that the U.S. helped to fight against. So Malaysians are not really in our corner right now. In 2003, the U.S. designated Thailand a major non-NATO ally. Of course, that was before the military coup. And the U.S. and Thailand are both in the Manila Pact to bring stability to the region. Vietnam-U.S. relations, of course, we established diplomatic relations in 1950, and in 1975 we closed all our embassies and evacuated all personnel in South Vietnam after the surrender to North Vietnam. In 1978, Vietnam reunified under communist rule and invaded Cambodia, which we were staunchly against. And in 1995, diplomatic relations with Vietnam were reopened, and as recently in 2016, President Obama created a comprehensive partnership with Vietnam for trade. The economic environments of these countries, so Vietnam's income per capita is about $5,621. Households about double that. GDP per capita is about 2,000, so not a great amount of distribution. It is a communist country. Thailand's income per capita is about 14,000 per household, about 22,000. GDP per capita about 6,700, so a great distribution of wealth there, and actually a decent per household per capita. India's per capita is 6,500 per household, about double that. GDP per capita only 2,600, and mostly because a lot of taxes are taken in India strictly for infrastructure, and not a lot goes to the people. Malaysia's income per capita is about 12,000 per household, 22. GDP per capita 9,400. That's the highest on this list. Political legal environments, Malaysia and India. So Malaysia mainly speaks Malay or Bahasa, but also English. Main religions are Islam, Buddhism, and Christianity. India, they speak Hindi, but also a large group of English-speaking people are in India. And the religions in India are very vast, including Hindu, Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, folk religions, and a small sect of Judaism. Thailand almost exclusively speaks Thai, and the region is almost exclusively Buddhist, so very strict in the practices there. Vietnam is almost exclusively Vietnamese, very little English. There's some English there left over from people that were taught during the Vietnam War. The religions are almost exclusively local religions, including worshiping national heroes, local deities, wind, forest, fire gods, and also worshiping ancestors. Some fun facts at this point: Islam is Malaysia's official religion, so most holy days, Ramadan, Hajj, Muhammad's birthday, are national holidays. Because there's such a wide assortment of languages nationally and locally in this region, it's very difficult to find a single translator that can provide adequate service, and many of the local languages are not found in translation applications. Religion is extremely important in each of these countries and should be treated respectfully in all cases. And halal certification is basically approval of a food product by the Muslim community as clean, safe, and quality, and is critical to have when marketing a product of food in Asia. Malaysia has a federal parliamentary monarchy comprised of 13 states and led by a paramount ruler or king. Thailand has a constitutional monarchy that's led by a military government that seized power in 2014, like we stated, and the prime minister leads this government, and the people are considered to have little to no political freedom. India is a federal republic based on a parliamentary democracy and elects a president by an electoral college with a bicameral legislature, extremely similar to the United States political system. Vietnam is a single-party socialist republic where the general secretary of the Communist Party is the head of the party and is outranked only by the prime minister and the president. So tariffs and regulations in Malaysia: all imported beef, lamb, poultry must come from manufacturers that meet halal certification. So again, extremely important for the Muslim community in that area. Pork may only be imported with Malaysia's Department of Veterinary Services allowing it. So very strict on pork. Textiles are rarely exported from the country and require a difficult license to do so. And they allow 100% foreign equity in hospital services, medical, accounting services, and education. So that's huge for foreign direct investment. So in India, India's applied average tariffs about 6.3% according to the World Bank. The integrated goods and services value added to tax is applied on all imports to India. There's a 4% ad valorem tax added to all imported alcoholic beverages, and there's a landing fee of 1% on all imports. So India has one of the most complex and least transparent tariff regulatory systems of any country, and so they created the Indian Customs Electronic Commerce Electronic Interchange Gateway, need to work on that name, to allow companies to do better in calculating the costs associated with trading. So Thailand has a 39.9% ad valorem tax on all agricultural imports. This is to allow the local agricultural commerce to thrive. They have a 60 to 80% tariff on motor vehicles, which is just insane. They have a 10% tariff on all pharmaceutical products. Again, pretty crazy. Items such as chemicals, electronics, industrial machinery, and paper carry no duties whatsoever, and they carry highly favorable terms. So these are the things that they desperately need. They have a 50% tariff on all alcoholic beverages, which really would not work in the state of Louisiana. Outside of food, agriculture products, Thailand is highly favorable for trade, according to the World Trade. Vietnam eliminated many non-tariff restrictions on U.S. trade after the U.S.-Vietnam bilateral trade agreement in 2001, including several quotas, bans, and permit licensing requirements. Vietnam has reserved the right of importation to the state for products such as cigars, crude oil, newspaper, journals, and other media. This is to not allow the local people to understand what's going on in the outside world. Very communist type thing to do. They prohibit the import of entirely all fireworks, refrigeration equipment, and right-handed motor vehicles. Specific. So the financial environments, Malaysia, they have the Malaysian ringgit, is equal to 0.24 US dollars. India has the rupee, equal to 0.015 US dollars. Thailand has the baht, which is equal to 0.33 US dollars. And then you have the Vietnamese dong, which is equal to 0.000043 US dollars, and is the highest disparity of any exchange rate in this area, mostly due to political instability. So in Malaysia, every 100 people, there's 150 newspapers, 420 radios. There are 1,500 internet users. They have 32 airports. 32 airports that are paved, 83 that are not paved. They have several major ports left over from British rule. Almost all power is supplied by state-controlled Tenaga national companies, so electric rates are through the roof. Kuala Lumpur has essentially become the Silicon Valley of Malaysia. And the major railway systems in all major cities, but they lack railways to any of the cities. So every 1,000 people in Thailand, newspaper 63, radios 232, TV sets 236, internet users 800. They have wildly poor roadways and transportation systems, even in major cities. The primary reason is and this is the primary reason for investors not to go to Thailand. And in 2001, they allocated $7.5 billion to infrastructure, but had shown little improvement due to massive flooding. Outside of major cities such as Bangkok, communities are severely lacking in internet, telephone, and telecommunications abilities, and the government has been trying to attract foreign investment in infrastructure since 2000, but has been able to do so to this point. So in Vietnam, for every 1,000 people, there's 4 newspapers, 107 radios, 47 TV sets, and 100 internet users. Internet service in Vietnam is considered slow and expensive and has very few citizens users due to heavy government regulation of content. There are 2 international airports and 32 local airports. And due to heavy jungle areas and difficult climate conditions, there are very few roads to remote provinces and almost no railway systems. And due to environmental conditions, much of the power is imported from Laos as hydroelectric power. So in India, infrastructure per 1,000 people, 121 radios, 69 TV sets, 2,800 internet users. They have the largest national network road systems in the world at 2.7 million kilometers of roadway, but only 40% is paved. They have 63,000 kilometers of railway for railroads, and they all run on electricity. Largest merchant shipping fleet in the world, 343 airports with 2/3 having paved runways. And they have 17% of the world's population, but only consume 3% of the world's energy needs. So opportunities in this area, there's an opportunity for hydroelectric power investment in India. Vietnam is in major need of railways and roads. Thailand requires major development in every transportation factor outside of its major cities. And Malaysia has a need for high-speed internet providers outside of its major cities. The U.S. companies, India's extremely high population, but lack of jobs allows for cheap labor and jobs that require little to no training, such as call services, apparel, toys, textiles, and basic consumer electronics. Each of these countries provides major tax incentives and low tariffs levels of foreign direct investment, and many U.S. companies have taken advantage, such as Nike, Apple, Cisco, Walmart, and IBM. Deloitte, Wall Street Journal, and many others refer to this region as MITIV, or Malaysia, India, Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam, and believe it to be the new place in the world for manufacturing, which will replace China and raise the United States to one in manufacturing over China. All these countries provide a supreme worldwide advantage in manufacturing due to high population and lack of jobs. India is the prime option for general manufacturing that holds a great infrastructure system. Thailand would be number 2. It has an excellent opportunity for manufacturing, but also couples with large opportunities for infrastructure. Malaysia is number 3 because of its only due to major concerns in currency and religious constraints. However, there's a unique opportunity in Kuala Lumpur for technological advancement. Vietnam would be the least important due to horribly lacking infrastructure, exceedingly low exchange rates, and political issues. So in my final opinion, the region is rich in religious history and cultural values. However, religion causes economical issues in many countries in this region, and due to so many languages being spoken in this region, marketing can prove to be extremely difficult, so it must be diversified in many ways over such a small area. Infrastructure is heavily lacking in many areas, though most governments in the area seem dedicated to expanding it, and MITIV is becoming the new manufacturing hub of the world over China. There are my references.